Hey guys! I went on a cruise about a month ago and they had chocolate rum cake on board, so I figured I'd take a whack at it. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is in a small saucepan, I'm going to take some butter, some avocado oil, some Dutch processed cocoa powder, some espresso powder, and some water, and I'm just going to put that on the stovetop, and I'm going to let this cook over medium heat for just a few minutes. I'm actually just going to cook this until the butter completely melts and then we have a nice smooth hot chocolate, and that's looking pretty good, so I'm going to take that off the heat and I'm going to let that cool while I make the rest of the cake. I'm going to take some eggs, I'm going to add some brown sugar, light brown sugar to be exact, and I'm going to take an electric mixer. You could do this by hand or you can use a stand mixer if you like, and I'm just going to blend that all up. Now, if you remember my other chocolate cake video, I did something very similar to this, and I actually blended it until it was doubled in volume, and that's what we're doing here too. In a separate bowl, I'm going to combine my dry ingredients. I've got some all-purpose flour, some baking soda, baking powder, salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And now we have our rum. This is a white rum, but you could also use dark rum if you'd like. I'm going to add that to my egg and sugar mixture, then my dry ingredients, and now the chocolate from earlier that should be completely cooled. And I'm going to take my electric mixer, and I'm just going to blend this up. And this should be completely smooth. Just scrape down the sides of the bowl while you can, make sure that this is all blended up, make sure there's no chunks of flour or anything like that, or even no chunks of chocolate, because we don't want any clumps of cocoa powder. And this is looking pretty good. It's ready for the oven. I'm taking a 9-inch baking dish, and I greased it and lined it with parchment, and I also used a cake liner, which makes this bake a lot better, a lot more even. And if you have those, definitely use them. And I'm just going to pour all of my batter in there. I'm going to tap out all the air bubbles, and this is going to go into a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 30 to 35 minutes. Give it the toothpick test to make sure that it's completely done, and it's looking done right now. Gonna let that cool off for about 10 minutes, and while that's cooling, let's make our glaze. And we're gonna be making a rum glaze. In a small bowl, I'm gonna combine some powdered sugar, a little bit of rum, a little bit of vanilla extract, and some milk. And when I mixed this, it was a little bit on the thick side. I just want it to be a little bit more runny, so if that does happen to you, add a little bit more milk. I wouldn't add more rum. It's strong enough as it is. And this is actually looking pretty good. It looks like something that you would put on top of cinnamon rolls, but we're not. We're putting it on top of our rum cake. And now that 10 minutes is up, it's time to take this out of the pan, but it's not completely cooled yet. This is going to cool for about another hour or so. Just make sure you keep an eye on it. You don't want it to dry out on you because nobody wants a dry cake. And even though that glaze is going to moisten everything up, we do not want it to crackle. All right, so I'm going to take off my parchment, and then when it's ready, I'm going to put that on a plate, and now it's time to top this with our glaze. And this doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be a certain pattern, but this is looking pretty good to me, because even if you're kind of lazy and you don't feel like decorating, I think in the end, no matter what you do, this is going to look good. And your guests are going to be wondering how you did that. Although I'll admit, this kind of looks like a spiderweb design, and I think that would be perfect to do for Halloween. Get like a plastic or rubber spider or something to put on top, and there you go, you got yourself a Halloween cake. Now it's time to dig into this thing, and it smells terrific. I'm just going to slice it up, and once I get my slice out of there, a nice big slice, you'll notice that the cake is kind of on the dense side, but that's because rum cakes are usually very dense, whether it be chocolate or vanilla. And they actually come in other flavors too. I didn't even realize that. I actually just found that out about a month ago. But this is absolutely terrific. I've never had chocolate rum cake before. This is actually my first time. And even when I was on the cruise, I didn't get to try it, so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just make it at home. And I was not disappointed. While the cake was very enjoyable, I was really liking that glaze. It had a nice vanilla flavor and the rum wasn't too strong. And yeah, I am definitely making this again. My family tried it and they loved it too. And at this moment, I wanted to try just the cake on its own without the glaze. And even on its own, it is a great cake and it's very moist. It is not dry at all. So I will be definitely making this again, especially since it was very easy and didn't involve that many ingredients. So I definitely recommend making this thing. Alright guys, I hope you all enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.